Hey guys, so I've been trying to make this video for like, I don't know, a week or two now. Ever since I got out of quarantine, I thought like, oh, well, let me get out of quarantine first, and after that I'll make the video of my room, the small room that I live in now. And today I really want to give you some tips because there's a lot of things that I've learned from living in like 4 different places in Korea. I've lived in like a share house, I lived in a teacher's house, if you want to put it like that, one that is sponsored by your teaching job, and then there was another share house that I lived in, and then now this one is, I don't know, I guess you would kind of consider it like a dorm. I live next to a university, and then everybody that's pretty much in this area is university students, so I guess you could consider it kind of like a dorm, but I found that by myself too. And I'll just give you tips on certain things so that you can avoid some bad things, because there's a lot of things that happen over the time of moving to different places, and I just learned so much about finding places in Korea. So as soon as you come in, there is the door. The door is kind of weird. There's like another little buttons you gotta push, and I don't know, sometimes I feel like it's not even locked. A lot of times I'm just not sure, so it's like always double and triple checking. But I do live in an old building. This is probably the oldest building I've lived in Korea. I'm super old. There's actually a lot of different bugs. You can tell by the traps that I have to lay, like it's pretty horrible. I'll go over that too, and like tips of stuff to avoid and to ask when you are moving abroad. A lot of the stuff that is already here was left by the lady before me. She said since I was going to be in quarantine, she wanted to leave me a lot of things because it'd be helpful. This pot is something I actually bought because I needed something bigger than what she had. But pretty much a lot of the stuff that she left, like the strainer and so forth, and this little nifty trash bag for food if you ever have like throwaway food like chicken bones and stuff like that, and it has like a little top, so maybe you don't really smell what's inside. I don't know if it works too well or not because I don't really use it. On this side we have 2 cabinets. This cabinet is filled of like different pesticides and stuff like that. Like my god, the roaches and bugs and stuff is just too much, honestly. And then, you know, just like your regular cabinet, which like I said, majority of this stuff is what the girl left for me. There's a few things that made sense that when I was moving back, everybody's telling me, well, you gotta quarantine, so you have to take plates and stuff. It's stuff that I didn't even think about because I was like, oh yeah, I'm not going to like quarantine at an actual hotel or anything like that, so I'll be good. But then they were like, well, what are you gonna eat off of? And I was just like, oh, like I didn't think about that. So like I got some plates from home, from like my friend's house. Well, home. Home. I don't want to say my friend's house, home. And so they gave me some plates, and they also gave me some like silverware and stuff like that too to bring with me. But a lot of this other stuff like hot water maker, or well, boils your water, and then we have a small little blender. It's just stuff that she left for me because she said she thought they would be helpful. You know, I like to cook. This is not the best area. It's really not. It's like super small. Let's look at it from the side. I mean, I guess at least it's something. I've been in places where you don't even have this little area. At least I can kind of cut something right here. And then right underneath. This is the first time that I've had a washer machine like right underneath the stove. So I was like, wow, that's actually different. But when looking up a lot of different places when I came to Korea this time and trying to find my own room, because I wanted to avoid being with other people this time around, there's a lot of different ones that I saw, and it was kind of the same setup. So I was like, huh, maybe when you live by yourself in like your own kind of like studio apartment, then this is pretty much the setup they give you. Probably like the stove on the top and then a washer on the bottom. But since I lived in a lot of share houses and stuff like that, one of them had a washer and a dryer. That's probably the best one. And then we have here on the bottom where I keep a lot of the different ingredients that I use, some oils and vinegars and stuff like that. And right underneath is a few different cleaning supplies, like some wet tissues and some Swiffer wipes and stuff like that. I at least tried to get something that had furniture already in it, so a lot of the furniture that you see is what was already here, like this big closet slash bookshelf. You get a refrigerator, and you get a microwave, you get a bed, and you get a desk. The TV is actually something that I got last time I was here. I want to be more comfortable while watching different things. So So I usually hook that up to my laptop, and then that's how I watch TV majority of the time. My PlayStation that's been traveling with me for years, so it's probably all broken up and stuff. My controller is for sure because of the luggages, but yeah, we've been traveling together for some time now. And then some other things that I bought when I first arrived in Korea. The refrigerator is a lot better than the one that I had in Japan. I don't know if I mentioned that in the last video when I talked about my apartment in Japan, but the one that I had, the refrigerator didn't work so well. So it's actually not the best, but this one keeps everything super cold. So I have something that I cooked like yesterday. So I have leftovers and so forth, some water because I'm always drinking water, and some eggs. But it's just like a small mini refrigerator. Freezer filled with chicken. It's like all I eat pretty much when I'm at home cooking. And if you notice, we have the roll of toilet tissue outside the bathroom, not inside the bathroom. And I'll show you why right now. So this is the restroom. The restroom has a door, and it has a shower curtain like as soon as you walk in, and that is so the water doesn't like leak out. If there's like too much water going onto the door, it could just like come right out. So they put this shower curtain like, I mean, it's not really put up the best on like some 2 nails or something like that. Yeah, like 2 nails. It's not put up the best, but they got a shower curtain to help so the water doesn't come outside. But the one thing I'm never going to get used to is this kind of combo. It's a lot for me because the seat is always wet. My God, always wet in the floor. Look at that. So this setup is something new. The water goes down the drain and then it comes right out the back, which I can't really see. I've been trying to see how it looks in the back, but I'm guessing that the hose probably just comes out the bottom and then it just goes right down that drain, which is the same drain that's used for when you take a shower. So I was like, wow, like, I mean, I guess that's, I don't know, that's pretty neat, I guess. The only thing I don't really care for is just, like I said, is just the combo, because I don't like sitting on a wet seat. So I feel like it's a waste of tissue because that tissue is used to always wipe that seat. Sometimes the seat's dry. I guess it depends on, I don't know, if the water evaporates in time. But sometimes you have to wipe the seat before you use it. I've never seen that combo before until I came to Korea, but it's very prominent in Korea. So we got like a soap holder and some of the supplies that I brought back with me from America. Some shampoos and conditioners and stuff for me to do my hair. The reason why I have to leave the toilet tissue outside is because there's actually nowhere to put it. I tried different things. I used to try to like hang it like right here on this nail right here, but then I thought one day, what if it falls and then it goes onto the wet floor? Then that's a waste of tissue. So now it's just take it in when you have to use the restroom. Oh God. So right here in this corner, I keep some of the supplies that I use in the house. There's fabric softener, there's detergent, there's soap for when this goes out, which is pretty soon. Look at this, like already almost gone. And then my bed, it's pretty hot in Korea, if you guys don't know, and it's rainy season. That's why it's taking me so long to make this video, because it's always raining outside, and it's raining hard and then it stops, and it's raining hard and it stops, and then it's dark. And then I'm like, I can't make a good video if it's always dark. How are you gonna see the room? I mean, look at it now. I have to use a light just to show you now because it's still kind of cloudy outside, and it was actually raining, but it stopped for a little bit. I'm sure it's gonna start again soon. And then this is something I put together. This is something that I actually bought myself, which is so you can dry your clothes on. I had one of these in my last share house actually, and I needed something to dry my clothes on because there's nothing or nowhere to actually put something to dry clothes in the room. So the first 3 weeks or 4 weeks I couldn't really wash clothes because I didn't have a place to dry it. And then that arrived and now I'm saved. It like comes out actually. I just took it down, so you can see it comes out, you push it in, and it's on both sides, so you can just take it out on both sides and stick it together. And then I just usually roll it into the middle and use it on the days that I wash. So here we have the air conditioner. The air conditioner is broken, so I have to actually unplug it. The cord's just dangling right there because I don't know how to turn it off. I've pushed the off button so many times on the controller and it won't turn off, so I just unplug it. And it was unplugged when I moved in here, so I'm guessing that's why. It's probably just always been broken. And down here we have my Korean books. And then last but not least, we have the closet. Where I use the bottom to store extra water, some extra bags of nuts, and it's like grain. It's like fiber grain. It's not really rice, but I guess those probably are kind of the same thing anyway. And that concludes the tour of my apartment. Like I said, it's really small. I don't even know how big this is, but I'm lucky that I actually found something that I can at least do a little bit of working out in, because, you know, I love working out. But I saw some other places that was smaller than this, and I was like, I needed something a little bit bigger because I love working out. You know, it's like Corona season, so I can't go to the gym or anything, I don't think. Probably can in Korea though. But yeah, I just do a little bit of inside working out. But yeah, let me give you some tips on what I've learned so far living in Korea. So don't mind all the sweat. I'm like sweating up a storm. It's hot, but it's rainy. It's rainy season in Korea, so it's raining a lot. It's hot. There's lotuses everywhere. One time there was actually one that was like right there, and I was just confused because I'm like, wow, that noise got super loud, and then it was just right there, like shaking its butt or whatever, and I was just like, why did it like land on my screen right there? And then yeah, that was pretty horrible. I was trying to get him off. I was like pushing at him, and he was not leaving. And then all of a sudden I was like, well, can I find something that I can maybe kind of squeeze through one of the holes in the screen? And then as soon as I turned back around, then he left. I'm like, okay, well, that ends that. But yes, I wanted to give you some tips on what I've learned and some of the things to help you find a better place when you come into Korea. As you know, you do need like a huge amount of money just to like live in Korea. Usually they call that the pojangung. Pretty much it's just like a deposit that you have to put down, and the deposit is usually big. It's like $5,000 to $10,000 that you have to have. I want to say it's 10,000. 5,000 is kind of lenient. Sometimes you can find people that do like 3 or maybe 1 if you're lucky, but generally it's like 5,000 to 10,000. I want to say that if you want to live in a place that's probably better than this, not like in a super old building, even though some of the ones in super old buildings still ask for a big deposit, I would have a lot of money saved up when you come to Korea. It's just the best way if you want to find a more comfortable place to live. A majority of times you can get lucky and find something that's good. I think the only problem that I actually had with this place was the bugs. I don't like roaches or anything like that. Never liked them, and when I moved in here it was pretty bad. And what happened was, the girl that lived here before me, she wasn't living in the room for about 3 months. I want to say she was living with her boyfriend, but maybe her parents were paying for the room. I don't really know. I mean, that's stuff that I've learned to be something that people do. You know, their parents can't know that they're living with their boyfriend or whatever. Yada yada yada. So they're paying for the place, but you're living with your boyfriend or something. I'm guessing that's what happened. Don't really know. But she wasn't in here for the past 3 months, and finally I guess she was trying to get out of her contract, so I took over her contract, and she showed me the place. But the only thing is I didn't see any roaches or anything like that, but I did ask, like, is there any, like, you know, any bad things about the place? Because I've learned a lot living in Korea, and I've never had to experience this in America, because I didn't really look for places in America to live. I lived with my family. I lived in dorms, and that's pretty much it. And the dorms weren't bad. I mean, I lived in one of the newest dorms built at the time, so I had no issues there, besides my roommates, I guess, at the time. But that was pretty much it. So there's always something new that I learned only in Korea. I didn't learn nothing in Japan pretty much, because I always lived inside of, what is it, Leo Palace, and Leo Palace is a new place. They come in with cleaners and clean everything and stuff like that, and I never had any issues besides maybe the Wi-Fi being kind of slow. Only in my second place, not the first one. The first one was good, but maybe in the second place. But besides that, everything else was amazing. So I never had to deal with anything like that, and they were pretty good on telling you all the steps that you need to go by, like making sure that you know, like if you leave early, you're gonna have to pay like this or whatever, you know. So all that stuff I knew in advance, but it was totally different when I moved to Korea. The first place, as you know, the one thing that was wrong with it when I was a teacher here was the mold, and I didn't even know how bad mold was at the time. I learned from you guys how bad mold was. I was just like, what? But that's how I learned that mold was even that bad, because for me, living where I lived in America, in California, I didn't have a mold issue, so I didn't really know it was that bad. But after people told me like, that's bad, you could die, and I was like, whoa, whoa, what, really? Then that's when I actually like took initiative to like tell people, because I used to just clean it daily. I mean, I would clean and like 2 seconds later it would just form on the wall. Like, it's like you could just watch a movie of the mold forming on the wall. And that was the only bad thing about that place. The landlords were lovely. Yeah, they loved me a lot, especially the lady. She always touched my body, but maybe because she always came, I don't know, I hate wearing shirts, but yeah, she would just touch me and her husband would be trying to shoo her away. Anyway, besides the point, after that, actually, she never came anymore. He always came by himself. Anyway, they were really nice. He was really nice too. He came and he fixed everything. The mold was the only issue. They would kind of like plaster more wallpaper over it, and that was like defeating the purpose, because the mold was still there and would just form after. But besides that, that was the only problem I had that place. Everything else was lovely. The second place, I lived in a share house, and the one thing I didn't know was that you have to leave after like your actual contract is over and stuff like that. And that's because the first place that I was in as a teacher, I didn't have anything like that, so I didn't know. And I did go with a person at the time to help me, but he didn't clearly state everything, so that was kind of like a mix-up, because I didn't understand that part, like, oh, you have to pay a fine or something if you leave early. And then during that time, as majority of you guys know, because I had a lot of built up emotions and stuff living in that place, because my roommate at the time was racist and he didn't like me and all that stuff, and no matter what I did, he just didn't like me. So I mean, it wasn't anything else I can do about it. That was the biggest issue, being treated like that in that kind of environment, but then trying to leave just so I can get away from that. And then everybody's like, oh, well, not everybody, but the landlord is saying like, oh, well, you're gonna have to pay to leave. And I'm like, you can't fix the issue of your guy being racist, but I would have to pay to leave your establishment. Like, this makes no sense, you know. And we used to sit down and have conversations about it all the time, and he'd be like, oh, and he would like try to feel like sympathetic to me, but then when it was like me and the other Korean guy, then he's like, oh, he's on the Korean guy's side. I'm just like, what? You know, so like, why do we always have to meet and talk if you're just gonna be on his side? That was like the only problem I had there, is that I would probably, especially if you come from abroad, I would try to look into who you're living with, because you just don't know what type of people they are. And I did ask, but they said like, oh, you know, they're fine with people moving in. And I'm like, okay, but the guy in my room wasn't fine with people from different countries moving in, and that was apparent after I moved in. So yeah, that was the only issue I had at that place. And then after that, I moved to another share house when I came back to Korea after living in Japan. And at that share house, the landlord was pretty much the problem. Like, first he didn't give me the right pictures. I'm like, oh, well, how does the place actually look? not just what you have on the setup, because I know people like to put a lot of fake pictures up there and just say, oh yeah, my room looks like this, you know, and I'm like, how does it actually look? And he's like, oh, it looks just like the picture. And then I moved in and I'm just like, this doesn't look like the picture. And he said, well, you know, people put up, you know, fake pictures. And I said, that's why I asked you, what does it look like, you know? And he's like, oh, well, I didn't know. I'm like, okay. So he was just trying to get me to move in, yada, yada, yada. So he didn't show me the correct bathroom and all that stuff. It was all messed up. The bathroom wasn't what it was. The shower was like a little hole in the wall, literally. They just put a hole in the wall next to the washing machine and just like put up a curtain to separate the washing machine from the shower head. I don't want to say shower, it's just like shower head. Yeah, and you could tell it wasn't meant to be like that, because even the wall, all of the, what is it, like the paint and stuff was all like coming off and stuff. It was horrible. And the room, my God, I moved into the room and the room was dirty. And I'm like, the room's dirty. And he's like, no, it's not, they cleaned it. And I'm like, he's like, show me a picture. I took pictures. He was like, what? And I'm like, yeah, it's dirty, literally dirty. It was actually pretty nasty. Like, there was stains on the bed and all that. And I'm like, you want me to sleep on that? And he's like, well, we'll take the night off or something. And I'm like, but I don't want to sleep on that bed. Man, oh my God. Horrible first night coming back to Korea. Yeah. And then after that, then, you know, I was leaving to go back to America, to come back to Korea with my new visa. And then he was like mad at me for leaving early, and I was just like, but like I asked when I first got here, because I learned about, you know, like leaving at a specific time. And I'm saying, you said you can leave within 2 months. I asked the guy if even 1 month was okay, and he told me, yeah, 1 to 2 months is okay. And then at the end, when I'm trying to leave, and I told him like maybe 1.5 months, because I had to go back home. Immigration told me I had to. They said there's no way. We're not extending visas. So I was like, I have to go back home. He's like, oh, I didn't say that. And I'm like, picture send. He's like, oh, well then I guess you can leave early. I'm like, what? And then I got back home, and then I was talking to him because he still had to give me my deposit back. And then he gave me a certain amount of my deposit back. And I'm like, oh, well, you still missed some of the money that you owed me for my rent because I left early. And he said, no, I don't owe you anything. I'm like, no, you owe me, because it's like, I don't know, $70-ish. I'm like, oh no, it's like, I'm like, literally it's this much. And I'm like, you could have calculated that yourself. But I'm like, okay, I'm just saying like, oh, this is how much you owe me. And no, I don't. And I'm like, he's like, cause you left early, so you get a different monthly price or something. And I'm like, I don't understand why, since I have to leave early, that it became a problem for him. And then he tried to up the price and stuff of me leaving. And then after that, then I'm like, I just don't understand. So I talked to like the manager, and then the manager told me that I was entitled, and I thought that I can do whatever I wanted to, and I left early and all that. I was like, but I asked about leaving, the leaving time, and he just didn't want to listen to me. Really. And he was just like, and you think we owe you stuff and all that. But no, like literally it's just this much from this. Like there's no way that there should be a $70 difference. He's like, well, if I have to give you that money, then we're gonna charge you for a cleaning fee that they were doing. And it's funny because my room was dirty when I got there. So, and I'm just like, oh my God. So I just have to stop talking to him. So I lost $70 there. But then after that, he wanted to charge me, I don't know, like $500 or $600 for like cleaning fees and stuff like that. I left the place clean. I actually vacuumed and everything, because that's just what I do. And I came into a dirty room, so I'm like, where's the cleaning fee? But yeah, so I mean, the biggest story from that one is just be careful of your landlords too, because the landlords can be crazy out of nowhere. My God. And make sure that you view the room in real time. And then that leads to this problem. I viewed the room in real time, but there was bugs. And I mean, there was literally the thing, it's funny. When I lived in Japan, the thing that annoyed me is that I had to pay for somebody to clean the room thoroughly. And I'm like, but I could clean the room thoroughly myself, so why do I have to pay for this? And I usually did. I usually would clean it, and they'd be like, oh, the room's already clean. But it's like, oh, but you still have to pay the cleaning fee. And then so I was like, well, what's the point of me cleaning? You know, I mean, I was still clean because I don't know, I feel bad and I feel like dirty. I mean, I don't know if you know me, I'm not a dirty person to begin with, but I still like try to like do a little bit more when I leave a place. And yeah, and then I came here and the last place that I told you about, and then I realized that maybe that cleaning fee is needed because I came in this place, the girl was supposed to clean before me, but she didn't really clean that well. Like actually inside of the cupboard that I showed you, there was actually a dead roach in there. She's like, well, she tried to hurry up and clean because she didn't have much time between when the lady said I was gonna move in and not, and she was still working, and like I said, she was living somewhere else. I want to say boyfriend, whatever. But when she did clean up, which was the day before I came, so I'm on the plane, she said she did see a roach, and she said, oh, that's bad, there's roaches or something. And I'm just like, well, I mean, she couldn't really tell me because I was on the plane, but at the same time, I'm like, why didn't you clean before? And I asked about this. It's like, shouldn't somebody come in and clean because that's because of the last place? But I didn't want to have any issues with things being dirty, and then I still had issues with things being dirty. So that's like another thing that's something that maybe a lot of places in Korea don't do. They probably don't clean rooms before you actually move in. Because the first room that I moved in, they didn't clean it either. Well, they didn't, it wasn't a cleaner that comes in and clean it. It was the actual, resident that I guess had to clean before they left. And that's just a maybe, because nobody comes in and checks the place. The first place was like that. The second place, that share house, was the only place where he said you have to clean your room, your space before you leave. But the other three places I lived in, you just pretty much switched over from one resident to the next, and it wasn't even checked in between. Like nobody came and checked to make sure that things were like good or anything like that. And that's why I had problems with some places. But yeah, there was like a roach in there, and then I was like, okay, hopefully there's not more roaches. And then as the days went on, I would see little baby roaches, and I'm like, oh my god. I would ask, like, is there any, especially if you hate bugs or roaches and stuff like that, I would really ask, like, is there any of that stuff in my room? Because you do live in an old place. Yeah, the girl wasn't here for 3 months, so the door you can kind of see under, so I'm guessing they could have just came right in. I don't know, it's old, like I said, so who knows where there's holes and stuff, and they probably just laid eggs somewhere. But it's not as bad as it was before. The lady gave me a lot of different things to kill them. I just hate it because I just don't like roaches at all. And I hate having to kill them because obviously I don't want them here. But I also don't want them to make more babies and stuff, so yeah. But that is pretty much it on some of the things that I learned. If there's anything else that you want to know about living in different places in Korea, feel free to ask me in the comments, any of my SMS and so forth, and then I'll let you know, or I'll put in another video or something like that. The one thing I didn't show you guys last time when I was talking about coming back to Korea is that they gave me like this little bag when I went to get my COVID testing done, which was actually pretty cool. They gave me like a bag with different things in it. One was like this pack of masks. Like I don't know how many is inside. It looks maybe like 5 or more, I want to say. But like they gave me a pack of masks. I thought that was pretty cool. And they look like some good masks too. But if you lived in Korea before, or if you know about Korea, when COVID first started, they were giving out masks for free like everywhere. I don't know if you've been to Japan or Korea before, but it's a thing where people usually give you like tissue, and the tissue is like an advertisement in it. And now they give you like an advertisement and a mask. So yeah, I got like a bunch of new masks. What else did they give me? They gave me this. And this is because they wanted to separate your trash from everybody else's trash. And you know, it has like the contamination symbol and so forth. I had like 2 of them, but I only needed 1, so I kept this one to show you guys. I mean, I can't use it anyway because they would think it's contaminated. But I don't really know what they do that's different. I don't know if they just, I mean, because they would burn everything. I don't know if people pick it up differently or what. Maybe they do, I don't know. But you have to put them in this and everything. Like, usually you have to separate everything in Korea, but shoot, this is like, no, put the bottles, everything inside this. I was like, okay. What else? Oh, and then like some what? Hand sanitizer is spray to spray things down and clean things like your hand and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, they gave you a lot of different things. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh wait, what's this? Oh, and some more. Oh, this is the hand gel. So that one was a spray, and then this is a hand gel that they gave you. So they gave you a lot of different stuff for what, surviving, or maybe it's just not to affect other people. Maybe if that's how you want to put it. But I wanted to show you that too, just in case. If you guys are coming to Korea, you'll get a bunch of like different masks and stuff. So that's pretty helpful. I got a few from America, but like this is my best one because I can wash it. And it's reusable, so that this one's good. It has a little filter thing on it and everything. So this is my best one, and I use this probably most of the time. But if I ever forgot it, which I did one time, I used one of the other ones that I have in my backpack because I just keep a ton just in case, you never know. But yeah, that is it on my apartment. For those who have joined my Patreon, there will be some videos of like different acting things that I had to do that I will be posting soon enough. Yeah, so if you keep checking the Patreon feed, you'll see some of those coming up very soon. They're probably embarrassing because it's just like pretending to do stuff or whatever, or like dancing or something, some kind of nonsense. But yeah, that'd be only Patreon members that would be able to see those. So yes, if anybody else is looking to join my Patreon and stuff like that, or if you haven't joined any of my other SMS, please look in the description box below and take a gander at a lot of the different stuff that I have there. But that is it, and I will see you guys later. Bye bye. You're still here? Thanks for watching the video until the end. Please don't forget to check out the description box below for info on my friends that were in the video.
Hi!
Product links, my other social media platforms, and my new product designer. If you guys love the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to comment because I really love reading and writing back to comments that fans leave. And thanks for watching. See you guys next time. Bye.